interesting facts about famous people.
American Indian Wars, Western movies. Today I'm going a bit traditional. Cowboys and Indians, as old a trope on the genre as ever there was. Some old, some newer. It's a tale as old as the West. White man encroaching on Native American land equals, well, you get it. We guys played Cowboys and Indians as kids, acting out the scenes from the early Western movies we loved. What were you, the cowboy or the Indian? And which actor were you? Wayne, Scott, Cooper, or fill in the blank. If you enjoy this video, hit the notification button to get my new videos. If you want to check out my many other videos, head over to my channel. The link is in the description. Let's get into it. Drums Along the Mohawk, 1939. This film represents life on the New York frontier during the 1700s. A family leaves comfortable lives in the city to settle on the frontier at the start of the Revolution, with hopes of a better life. As the war progresses, British and Indian armies attack their land. The families are forced to flee and find refuge with a wealthy widow. Drums Along the Mohawk might not be the most accurate of American Indian War movies, but paints a picture of the circumstances many settlers found themselves in during the American Indian Wars. Henry Fonda is a direct descendant of the Fondas that settled in the Mohawk Valley in the mid-17th century. Cast: Claudette Colbert, Henry Fonda, Edna May Oliver, Eddie Collins, John Carradine, Ward Bond. Davy Crockett, King of the Wild Frontier, 1955. Legends and myths from the life and times of the famous frontiersman Davy Crockett are depicted in this film. It's a combination of several Disney television episodes. Movies made earlier in the 20th century are known for their skewed perspectives of the American Indian Wars, demonizing Native Americans and celebrating those who attacked them. Davy Crockett, King of the Wild Frontier, takes an alternative approach. Although still skewed, this story doesn't try to portray Native Americans as the antagonists. On the contrary, Crockett is known as a champion of these people, making this one of the best options for American Indian War films made before the 1980s. Cast: Fess Parker, Buddy Ebsen, William Bakewell, Basil Ruesdale, Pat Hogan, Mike Mazurki. Northwest Passage, 1940, based on the Kenneth Roberts novel of the same name. This film tells the story of two friends who join Rogers Rangers as the legendary elite force engages the enemy during the French and Indian War. The film focuses on the famous raid at Fort St. Francis and their marches before and after the battle. According to historical accounts, 204 Rogers Rangers left for St. Francis, and 100 survived to return home. Cast: Spencer Tracy, Robert Young, Walter Brennan, Ruth Hussey, Nat Pendleton. Dances with Wolves, 1990. Perhaps one of the most well-known and beautifully directed films about the post-American Indian Wars period. Dances with Wolves features a former Civil War hero who finds himself falling in love with the ways of the local Lakota tribe. The film was released in 1990 to praise from critics and audiences, eventually earning 12 Academy Award nominations and 7 wins, including Best Picture and Best Director. It also has been credited as a major influence for the revitalization of the Western film drama, which is when truer tales of this era began to emerge. Because of the film's enormous success and sympathetic treatment of the Native Americans, the Lakota Nation adopted Kevin Costner as an honorary member. Cast: Kevin Costner, Mary McDonnell, Graham Greene, Rodney A. Grant, Floyd Red Crow Westerman. Last of the Mohicans, 1992, based on a novel depicting the final days of the Indian Wars in America. The Last of the Mohicans was successful in respectfully portraying the lives of those belonging to Native American tribes. Daniel Day-Lewis plays Nathaniel Hawkeye Poe, a white youth taken in the mid-1700s and raised by the last chief of the Mohawk tribe, Chingachgook. Through the perspective of Hawkeye, we learn what life for Native Americans was like during the French and Indian War. Daniel Day-Lewis is well known for going to extremes in preparation for his roles. For this film, he lived in the wilderness where his character might have lived, hunting and fishing and living off the land for several months prior to shooting. Cast: Daniel Day-Lewis, Madeline Stowe, Russell Means, Eric Schwig, Jodie May, Stephen Waddington, Wes Studi. A special shout-out and reference to an earlier version of The Last of the Mohicans, 1936, as Alice and Cora Munro attempt to find their father, a British officer in the French and Indian War. They are set upon by French soldiers and their cohorts, Huron tribesmen led by the evil Magua. Fighting to rescue the woman are Chingachgook and his son, Uncas, the last of the Mohican tribe, and their white ally, the frontiersman Nathaniel, known as Hawkeye. The scene in which a bare-chested Randolph Scott is tied to a torture stake inside an Indian village does not appear in James Fenimore Cooper's novel. Cast: Randolph Scott, Binnie Barnes, Henry Wilcoxon, Bruce Cabot, Heather Angel. They Died with Their Boots On, 1941. A fictionalised account of the life of George Armstrong Custer from his arrival at West Point in 1857 to his death at the Battle of Little Bighorn in 1876. To fill in the background with Indians, hundreds of Filipino extras were filmed, while the 16 Sioux were used for the close-ups. Jim Thorpe, who was an extra, had an off-camera fight with Errol Flynn. With one punch, Thorpe knocked out Flynn, who was in his Custer uniform. Cast: Errol Flynn, Olivia de Havilland, Arthur Kennedy, Charlie Grapequin. Geronimo, an American legend, 1993. After agreeing to settle on a US reservation, Apache chief Geronimo becomes unhappy and frustrated by promises that are never fulfilled, leading to the formation of his famous band of warriors that over years reclaimed what was rightfully theirs. Geronimo, an American legend, tells the story not just of this notorious chief, but of the years the US military spent chasing him around the country. The simple mention of Geronimo's name struck fear into all white settlers. The film had a mixed reception from critics, but was praised by Native American groups. Jason Patric beat Patrick Swayze and Alec Baldwin to the main role. Cast: Wes Studi, Jason Patric, Robert Duvall, Gene Hackman, Matt Damon. Hidalgo, 2004. I know this one seems a bit out of place, but there is a connection. Viggo Mortensen stars in this film about the far-reaching effects of the American Indian Wars. Hidalgo is different from other movies portraying true stories about Native Americans. After the massacre that was the Battle of Wounded Knee, cowboy Frank Hopkins joins a travelling Wild West show as a horse racer and stuntman. When an Arabian sheik sees the act and dares Hopkins to enter a horse race across the Arab deserts, he can't say no. He and his trusty horse, Hidalgo, face challenge after challenge in this classic Underdog Tale, based on a true story. Mortensen purchased the horse who played the title character, TJ, after this film was completed. He did many of his own stunts and horse riding in the movie. Cast: Viggo Mortensen, Zuleika Robinson, Omar Sharif, Louise Lombard. Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, 2007. This made-for-TV film was adapted from the 1970 book of the same name by D. Brown, set in the late 1800s, not long after the US Army was defeated at the Battle of Little Bighorn. 5 main characters each fight their own wars in an attempt to end the horrific treatment of Native Americans. The controversial Dawes Act disrupted the traditional life, culture, and unity of tribes across the country, and Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee tells the story of its fallout. The film won 6 Primetime Emmys in 2008 and boasts a cast of well-known actors including Adam Beach, Aidan Quinn, and Anna Paquin. Originally began development in 1995 as a 2-part miniseries for ABC. Sitting Bull was killed on December 15, 1890. The Wounded Knee Massacre happened on December 29, 1890. Sitting Bull's surviving family had been at Wounded Knee for 2 weeks before arriving at the agency from the massacre. Cast: Adam Beach, Anna Paquin, Chavez Ezenay, August Schellenberg, Aidan Quinn, Colm Feore. Hostiles, 2017. After 20 years of fighting the Apache, Cheyenne, and Comanche, a U.S. cavalry captain is given his final mission before retirement: transport a Cheyenne chief to the safety of a Montana reservation. The beautiful setting and impressive characters make the film more of a drama than the typical action film, and more of a post-war reflection than a typical war movie. The main character, Captain Joseph Blocker, watched his friends and comrades die at the hands of his Indian rivals, making this final mission one of his most challenging. The film went into production without a distributor, with a budget of almost $40 million. This was a huge gamble for financier Ken Cow. The film was shot in chronological order. Director Scott Cooper wrote the characters of Christian Bale, Wes Studi, Jesse Plemons, Rory Cochrane, and several other characters expressly for each actor or actress to play. Cast: Christian Bale, Rosamund Pike, Wes Studi, Jesse Plemons, Adam Beach, Rory Cochrane. Thank you for your time today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think in the comments. I appreciate likes and subscribers. Hit the notification bell to get my new videos. Take a look at my channel. The link's in the description. Bye for now. See you again soon.
Interesting facts about famous people.